Hello, MetaZoo maniacs and Scamperland scampers. Wait, that's not it. Oh, what's up, my friends? It's the Toe Man once again, and I want to talk to you about two things today. One is cardio costs me a lot of money, and number two is how things are supposed to go in the comic book, TCG, just how things are supposed to work as far as pre-orders, customers, the kind of the establishment from top to bottom, and how things are supposed to work on sales. I think how things are supposed to be getting to the customer because I feel that pre-orders are little morally ambiguous. Let's just put it that way. So I'll start with that. So things are how things are supposed to go is that you have a company that's whatever you want to say, MetaZoo, you want to say Marvel, you want to say whatever you want to say. You got the company and they have a manufacturer, and then and they also have the distributors, and then distributors distribute it to the stores, and the stores sell it to the customers. So the distributors talk to the company, and they say they make an invoice or estimated amount that they want to purchase, right? And they can do that by slew of different ways. But the way that some card games do it is they talk to the store. The store says, "Hey, how much do you they ask the store how much do you anticipate that you would need, and then they come up with a game plan, and then they order from the company. The company tells that to the manufacturer. The manufacturer gets that to the distributor. The distributor gets that to the store. The store gets that to the customer. And along the lines, there's various price points and different things, right? Um, but the biggest margin should be between the store and the customer because the store has the biggest amount of risk, seeing as though they have to pre-buy from the distributor. Sometimes the product's not even made yet, but they have to buy from the distributor, who then purchases it from the company, who then gets it from the manufacturer. Sometimes the manufacturer and the company are one and the same, but you get what I'm saying. So the store has to have the entirety of the risk because they have the highest margins usually between how much the price point is and how much the customer gets it. So they can, when things go up in value, they can increase the value of it. They can increase the price, I should say. If things go down, they decrease the price. They have some power right there to make a large amount of money if something goes up in value, and they also have a lot of risk that they could lose a lot of money. Now, what a lot of these companies are doing now, as far as the stores portion of it, is that they're asking for pre-orders from their customers. So now the customers are fitting all the risk, and they are prepaying something in advance, and then they're taking that money given to the distributor, who's asking for money before the item is delivered, or sometimes even before the item is even created, manufactured. And now they're telling the company, who then tells the manufacturer how much to print or make or whatever. So that, especially with say Meizu coming back, a lot of people don't want that risk because of things that happened in the past. If you don't know, the previous company went bankrupt because of poor management and a lot of other morality issues. But the biggest concern is the poor management because at one point they were making a lot of money and they were asking for a lot of pre-orders, some direct to consumer. So that cuts out the distributor and a lot of people down the line. They're asking directly the customer to give them pre-order money prior to a product even being conceptualized. They come up with a product and then they're immediately asking for money. So that is highly morally, you know, um, that's just an issue. That's just an issue. It is can be fraud at some points, especially when you look at products that never get made and they're asking for money and the money's being paid, and then you try to ask for your money back and they say no. That is, a legal issue at that point. So a lot of these stores now are putting up pre-orders on eBay or on their own website, or they're asking through other means, social media. They're asking for pre-orders so that the store doesn't have to fit the bill, and sometimes they're even cutting it lower than MSRP in order to ensure that they can sell before they have to pay their bill to the distributor before the product is delivered, so that they aren't taking a loss. And I understand that, but it is the job of the store to fit that bill because if you're if the store loses out the money, that's what the store is supposed to do. Most stores fail. If the customer is losing out, then you're screwing over the customer. The customer is supposed to be the person that just receives the item. You're giving them risk when they shouldn't be risked. They should be buying a guaranteed item. So it hurts the fan base. It hurts your credibility as a store. It hurts the entire method. The whole hierarchy gets disrupted because you are fitting the bill on the customer before a product is even made. And that is so risky. We've seen it time after time again with a lot of these Kickstarters out. That's like direct to consumer. They're asking for pre orders well in advance. A lot of these don't get delivered whatsoever. Sometimes they just take the money and run, as we saw with like Maelstrom and other companies. Titan was another one where people never got product because the story goes that the creator had passed away at a con right before it was delivered. There's so many stories like that. When you have the customer fit the bill, the risk that it is, there's so much room for error. There's so much room for error, and they should never be the ones at risk. The stores are supposed to be at the ones for risk because the stores have the ability to put a lot of some stock away, or they have methods to make the product look like it's scarce, so that they can upcharge or increase the values if the the popularity goes up, the demand goes up, the supply from other people go down. They're the last ones with the supply. There's so many things. Look at the Kickstarter boxes with MetaZoo, how they went through the roof. If the stores kept that product, they could have made a lot of money off of it. Again, the Kickstarter came from a direct to consumer process, but if if you look at CN1 at the height was very high priced. If they would have held a product there and then sold it, the margins would have been ridiculous if they would have sold it at its height rather than keeping it for now, and then you can barely break even on them. But at no point should the customer be paying out all these hundreds of dollars in order for the stores to keep the lights on. The stores are the ones who are supposed to fit the bill. The stores are supposed to be the ones to differentiate their income in order to be able to process these things and anticipate these things happening. But a lot of these stores aren't like that because they aren't real stores. They're just a guy who lives in an apartment with his product behind the couch. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of these retailers are working now. That anyone can get distribution and claim that they're a store, and they don't have an LLC. They don't have a business license. They don't even do their taxes. They don't know how to do quarterly taxes, but they get access to product, and they undercharge. They cut undercut everyone else who's an illegitimate store, and then they're able to ask for pre-order money for people to pay for these in advance. They're just money on top of money. Sometimes these people just disappear overnight. It's a really risky business. That's why I always say look for people who are credible, who have a good standing in the community, and then you're able to know, hey, this is one of those guys that just runs out of his mom's broom closet. This is not really a legitimate company. He could just make one bad move and take my money and run. So just be careful with pre-orders. That's really not supposed to be a thing that's occurring. The stores are supposed to be pre-ordering, and that's how it's occurring right now with a lot of MetaZoo products and just products in general. But that takes me to more Cardio. Cardio is my distributor. Um, a lot of people are having issues with Cardio with being able to communicate with them. They ghosted me for like 2-3 weeks. They had put a notice out there. It was like, hey, we got these decks that we're selling, and I had made a video and said, hey, if anyone's interested, let me know. And somebody had told me, I consider a friend, but also a customer, had reached out and said, hey, the pre-orders are kind of scummy, and I agreed. The pre-orders, should not be happening this way. But the pre-orders between me as a store and the distributor has always been a thing, and that's historically a normal interaction with a company and a store. I fit the bill, but I would like to ask, hey, how many of these should I get so that I'm not sitting with an abundance of decks? I don't want to have any surplus whatsoever. I just want to have the supply that people want, get it to them, and then be done. So when I reached out, he had wanted 2 cases, and so I reached back out same day, reached back out to Cardio and said, "Hey, I'm interested in 3 cases because other people had said they wanted some as well. So that'll be 2 guaranteed cases that the person was going to pay cash in person, and then I had some extra for a couple people who on the video and in the Discord were interested. A couple for myself and a couple that I could use for JF Comics to be able to run some events, so I can have people have decks on decks, so that I can be able to teach the game, be able to learn the game, be able to have competition with people, and it will grow our gaming community." Didn't get any word back, so I reached back out again a week later on the dot. Reached back out, "Hey, just wondering about those 3 cases." Didn't hear back again. Now it's just a couple days ago they finally reached back, and I thought, well, I told everybody, "Hey, like I don't know, they haven't got back," and then they had said basically that they sold out, that they only had 8 of the displays. They said cases, which didn't make sense. It had 8 cases. So even the terminology, like it goes down to the very customer service level is off on these. They said 8 cases that we have, and so I'm sorry. They said they had 1 case and it was 8 decks that are in there. So I think that's correct. Eight decks. But so yeah. So they said they have 8 decks left, 1 case, um, and if I was interested in getting it. I honestly, I think that's a display. Eight should be in the display, not a case. Again, that's what they had left. I said I'll take that because I know that at least I'll have enough to supply for myself and my gaming buddies. Had to go back to the other person who requested 2 cases and said, "Hey, I can't get 2 cases. I'm sorry," and I lost out on all that money from those 2 cases. And he went off on a tangent about cardio, and I said, "Oh yeah, that is an issue." And yeah, I can't say anything about that. That's how they're run right now, and I apologize. I had been asking in one of the discords. I think it's like the MetaZoo Community 2.0 Discord. If anyone else is having this kind of difficulty, a lot of people were saying, "Yeah, we're all having difficulties trying to get through the cardio to kind of make a purchase." And then there was a gentleman who works for cardio kind of reached out to me today and was just like, "Hey, let me know what the issue is. I'll try to solve it. Can you forward the emails?" I forwarded all those emails over, and he was very apologetic. Very great customer service. I believe it's Chris. I'm sorry if I'm outing you, Chris from cardio. Very great customer service. He said he made the situation better. I just said, "Hey, I'm not upset about it. Not a big deal. I just wanted to let you know that this was what's going on." So and it cost me a customer because this customer is not going to buy from me now. Who's going to trust cardio to deliver when they said, "Hey, we have them"? No, we don't have them. Hey, we have them. So I don't want to put somebody out a significant amount of money to hold that back in order to make that purchase. That's not right. Again, I'm supposed to be the one fitting the bill, so I don't think I'm going to be able to sell 2 more cases at this point. Especially it's so late in the game, they probably purchased it pre-ordered or at least agreed upon with somebody else that they're going to purchase one at this point, right? So yeah, I'm not going to purchase another 2 cases or go an extra route. I got the 8 decks, and I'm more than happy with that. That's enough for myself, for my group, for MetaZoo Pennsylvania to be able to supply them. So yeah, it's an unfortunate situation because 3 cases would have been great. I think that I would have had some left over just to do a couple things with. I'm going to be kind of tight with them as far as what I have to work with. And then maybe like the next day after I purchased those 8 decks, they reached out to me and said they have more MetaZoo boxes. And previously, I tried to buy more MetaZoo boxes when I first had them. I ordered close to 2 cases, and I asked if I could get more, but then they shut down their website, that part of the website that you were able to order cases from, and they said it was sold out, and I couldn't get a hold of them. So I'm not sure if this is a wave two. I'm not sure if they just have more allocated because somebody, you know, didn't didn't pick theirs up, or they held some for somebody and they couldn't pay up. I'm not sure the situation, but um, if this was a month or two ago, oh yeah, I would have bought another case of it. I didn't get any for myself from distribution prices. I had to go buy some from the store up in Bangor, PA. Nice little shop. I purchased the boxes from there, but I paid a paid MSRP for them just because I wasn't able to get them at distribution prices at that point. So I wanted to get some for myself. I could have gotten more too because all that money that I had from those was donated to charity. So it would be great to have more cases that were available and maybe got some more funds. The whole situation was kind of screwy. And I know it's the first time that they're doing this, and it's a growing company and it's a growing whole thing. And they rushed everything, and I got them a couple days late when they did come in, but everything came in solid. Everyone got their packages. Everyone was happy with them. So that's the most important thing. And again, seems like that situation is going to be solved. He reached out to me very quickly when we had a back and forth email. Again, I'm not upset about it. I know that that customer was very upset about it. And I probably lost them, honestly, as a customer, which is a shame because that is my biggest customer. But I want to be able to get that product to a person and guarantee it. Because if I can't do that as a store, who's going to rely on me? And I don't need to sell MetaZoo. That's fine. But I have some people who come to me because they know I'm going to deliver. And I like to be that person for them because there's a lot of people who don't do that. And if I'm not that person anymore, that's fine with me. But I would like to continue that relationship, especially now that I have people who are local to me, who are purchasing it, who do want to buy into it. A local shop that is selling it, that they want to do more events. So in order to grow, we need to have these positive interactions. So I'm really looking forward to my next iteration, my next order from Cardio. Hopefully that's some way more positive because if it's positive, um, that shows that maybe there's some growth there. They're ironing out some wrinkles, and the next couple sets are going to be flawless or as close as flawless as possible. So that's my 2 cents. And I'm sorry I went on a long tangent, but I think it's important to stay transparent with a lot of these things. I'm not bashing them at all. Again, I had a great interaction with Chris. Thank you so much for listening to me and replying in a very quick manner and having a solution. It was a really solid solution that he presented to me. I ultimately declined, but I thank you so much for having that opportunity to be listened to be followed upon very quickly. I didn't have to wait 2, 3 weeks for a reply. It was, you know, 5 minutes, I think, 15 minutes tops. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful week. Remember to be cool, do good, and be nice to each other. All right, y'all. Peace.